Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the studio. Today we are going to unpack my new partnership, the Swing Coach app. I got a text from Briscoe, the founder, the other day saying that they have now analysed over 1.1 million golf swings, which is just absolutely crazy. So thank you everybody who's got involved and has signed up to the app and enjoying it. We've had so many messages saying, how quickly people are getting better using the app, and I just think, the reason why I'm excited about it is because my clients in between lessons can get quicker, faster. So it just accelerates people's rate of learning, which is just super, super important. The really interesting thing is that it's picked up that there's one major swing flaw, which most people have, which you would probably think is the over-the-top move, right? And actually, I didn't really think it was going to be this, but it's depth at the top of the backswing. So essentially, where are your hands relative to the ball line? Not enough depth to be here, too much depth to be behind you. I'm going to spend this video kind of working through the app and showing you a way that you can really get on top of this, and a couple of drills and sensations which help you to get your depth in the correct place consistently, because it can be one of those things where, one time you're going for a lesson, you've got too much depth coming too far from the inside, for example, and then maybe one session where you're coming too far from the outside and not having enough depth. So it's one of those really tricky things in a golf swing where it's hard to regulate, and again, it's just a big positive of the app that it gives you that good swing feedback, and you know when you're in a good spot and when to maintain that good spot. So we're going to unpack it. We're going to show you some reasons as to why you might be getting the club too deep at the top and how you can regulate it into a great spot. So let's get into it. So there's two main reasons as to why you might get too much depth during your backswing, and it can be due to kind of two problems working as one. We're forever told that if you're coming over the top, you want to get deeper and deeper and deeper, but like kind of any problem in life and in the golf swing, you can completely overdo a good thing. So if you work the club too deep, for example, in your takeaway, I've often found that whatever happens on the way back will usually want to reverse itself on the way down. So getting too deep too early can be a problem. But also, to create the right amount of depth, you want to be doing it via your body rotation, rather than just sucking the arms in and trying to get them as deep as you possibly can. It's a byproduct of your body making a decent rotation. Now, if you are fairly limited in your amount of rotation, or maybe you're getting into your 70s or whatever, you might struggle to create deep enough turn, which means that your amount of depth will be relative to you, okay? A lot of the tall guys are turning well past 90 degrees nowadays, but let's say that 90 degrees is your baseline, so your shoulders would be rotating to 90 here, then that twist, that kind of 40 odd degrees or so and the 90 up top is going to create the depth to the hands. And I think one key detail is that when we talk about depth, we often are talking about depth to the handle, whereas a lot of people come in and they're trying to get depth to the club head, which can look like as you swing back, it gets the club really inside and really flat. But if you haven't got depth to the handle, it's really not going to be as effective. So when we talk about depth, we're talking about hand depth. So when you go onto the Swing Coach app, I would track it throughout the backswing, but the top of the backswing is the primary problem. So click hand path and click top. Okay, that will now give you a box at the top where your hands want to try and be. So our job is to try and get it in that box as consistently as we can. But often, if you can't rotate deep enough, our body's really clever, or our brain's really clever, that actually we would probably learn to stand up during our backswing, because that would mean that I can rotate deeper. For example, if I'm talking to you now like this, I could get my spine angle completely vertical, and I could rotate to almost 180 degrees, 145 degrees, and stand here quite comfortably and probably talk to you for 5 minutes. But that's not the kind of feel we want at the top of the backswing. We'd like to feel loaded. We'd like to feel stretched and contracted, so that we've got something to use on the way down, right? So what I really want you to try and do is to create the depth by a good rotation, turning around your posture. So we're going to go through a couple of drills in a second, but what I effectively mean by that is, rather than getting into your setup and then standing up, which would get the arms way too flat and around you and too deep at the top, instead our job is to try and rotate around our spine angle. Okay, and as I've said before, the lead shoulder shouldn't point anywhere near the golf ball. I think a lot of us are told, get that left shoulder towards the golf ball, but nobody gets their shoulder plane that steep. Not one single player on tour will do that. So just understanding that we need to have a balance of rotation and tilt. If we are just turning with no tilt, that can make the hands get too deep. And from there, guess what's going to happen? We're going to want to steepen that club and work it much more over the top to essentially find contact with that ball that's below us. What I love to do is practice with something on my back pocket. So if you followed the channel for a while, you know I do a bunch of work on the Swiss ball drill. You know, you can use it on your lead hip, trail pockets. You can also use a bag. I appreciate, you know, not a lot of people are going to have a Swiss ball at the range with them. But just using your bag behind you is a really nice way of maintaining posture. So for me, maintaining posture is the balance of the lower half and the upper half. If you've got your lower half coming forward, for example, your chest will start to lift and therefore give you that deep backswing we don't want. So I think, you know, in my head, certainly, just working on your shoulder tilt might not necessarily stop your tailbone from tucking under and losing the contact point on the bag behind us. So I think it's a nice all-round drill which would help you to, say for example this is too flat and too deep, it would help get the hands in the right place. So if I was to put my club across my shoulders here and have my back pockets on the edge of the bag, I'm going to try and make a rotation where I keep my lower half on the bag. Notice I'm still turning. Okay, lower half on the bag, but I'm trying to point my lead shoulder, you know, at least kind of 4 feet outside the golf ball, at least. And you can see I'm still maintaining a good spine angle. So, you know, it's important to not overdo tilt, but not overdo turn. We want a balance of the two motions, okay? So, you know, you might find that you're going back and lifting up, bum coming forward, chest coming up, arms getting too deep as a result of that. Yeah, so just having something on your back pockets can start to make you use your body angles in the correct way, which means that if I swing up and I get too flat, my arms can get incredibly deep. Whereas if I swing up and I overly tilt, my hands don't get deep enough. So we've got to find that middle ground. So I'm going to try and feel as if my bum stays on my back pockets, therefore chest can stay forward. And I should feel as if I can get my arms in a fairly good spot. So that feels like it's middle ground, okay? The checkpoint when you go to the top, I would make a backswing. I feel like that's a good amount of depth. I would then almost hang my golf club down, and I can see my shaft is falling in line with my right ankle. And that's when swing coach should give you a buzz and say, good swing, because you'll be in the correct spot. So rather than standing up, having to come over the top, okay, actually struck that one pretty well, we instead can feel 70-degree swing plane, nice. We instead start to feel as if we can maintain posture and swing around our spine angle. Okay, so it's a bit thin, but should go straighter. 55, overshadowed it a bit, but it's interesting for the flatter spine angle and therefore, or taller spine angle and flatter shoulders, I was actually steeper in plane. Whereas when you get steeper in body angles, you can get shallower with shaft, which is always my preference. So I did this swing earlier on. So I thought I would give the swing a try and see if I can spot the kind of cascade reaction, if you like, of when we get off plane with our body angles, we're naturally going to get too deep with the hands. So, you know, let's build this up. So let's go takeaway. So we can kind of see that, you know, as we start back, we're starting to lose posture. Okay, notice that the bum is moving forwards and therefore the chest kind of has to stand up in order to keep us balanced. Otherwise, we just kind of fall over backwards, right? So as we reach the top, you know, halfway back, really, really tall with spine angle means we get super flat with shoulders. And that creates this overly deep look at the top of the backswing there. So that's where I selected the measurements to come from. So you can see spine is too up at the top, and therefore you see my hands are back by 7, which is obviously in red. You know, anything north of 6 is going to cause some problems. If you're 1 or 2, it's not the end of the world. But, you know, we can really see how the hands get too flat there. So you can see the cascade reaction as we start to work down is that I'm going to start to try and re-tilt. You can see the head starting to work forward. I'll try to re-tilt again. I actually do a pretty good job of not coming over the top, but this is certainly not a way you'd want to start your downswing, right? You know, you're trying to get back into posture again, throwing the club out in front of you, and doing well to try and find strike, basically. So, you know, if the spine angle gets too tall, if we start to get too upright at the top, it's going to allow us to get our hands really, really deep. So actually, working on your body angles, working on your turns and tilts can often start to regulate where your hands get to at the top. So I'll put a barcode here in the corner so that you can get your 2-week free trial. There's no harm in just giving it a go, okay? So many people are really enjoying the app, and I'm using it every single day with clients and in my own practice whenever I get a chance to do some. And people are just finding that it starts to bring your range game and your core swing closer together. So, you know, give it a try for 2 weeks. I filmed another 40 drills over the weekend that are going to go live on the app this week. So, you know, there's plenty of help on there. And if you get any questions, just get in touch with me. Drop a comment in the box below and just let me know your thoughts. If you used it, how you're getting on, if there's any changes you'd like us to make, and we will try our best to make it the best app out there. There we are, guys. I hope that gives you some insight as to why you might be struggling with your depth. If you get any questions, please just let me know. And if you did enjoy the video, please consider giving the little like button a tick and subscribing to the channel. There is going to be more regular posts. I really enjoy making these videos, and it's so great to see so many messages from you guys telling me how much you enjoy the videos. So I'm going to do more, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.